Finally, they went out of their way to shut down any talk of corruption at the FBI, to keep information from you, okay? So first we had McCabe, Andrew McCabe, in this week of Andrews. We had Andrew McCabe step down from, so that's what that's Democrats, high taxes, dead babies, and censorship. Thanks a lot, guys. So the head of the FBI, apparently, this is source material, but they say that he pressured Andrew McKay to leave. Now, this is a very soft landing. He's going to retire in March anyway. He's still going to get his paycheck. He's still going to get his full pension. But it's just get out of the way. And we don't know why this happens. We don't know whether there's something bad coming down the pike. And Christopher Wray heard about it, that from the Inspector General's report, the Justice Department has an Inspector General studying the FBI's treatment of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And so maybe there was something in that. But also, Christopher Wray went on and he saw this FISA memo, okay? And, but according to the press, this is, I'm not sure I have time to play this, but according to the press, there's only one reason that McCabe stepped down, and that is Donald Trump forced him out as a way of wrong-footing the investigation into Russia. I won't play the montage, but all the networks, that's all they were saying. It's one after another. He's killing them off. It's like a holocaust of FBI agents, and they keep peddling this thing of like, he's lessening our trust in the FBI. I mean, the last time we had complete trust in the FBI, we got J. Edgar Hoover. You know, I mean, that was the kind of thing we had where you wouldn't question the FBI, are you? Because we might show up at your house, you know? It's like, we'll question anybody. You're just the government. You just work for us. And if you get dirty, we're going to clean you out. That's the way it works. So this is all about the FISA memo. The other reason he might have gone is Christopher Wray went and looked at the FISA memo. The Devin Nunes, who wrote the FISA memo and has, or at least organized the FISA memo, invited Wray to come in and say, look at this, just take a look at this and tell me what you think before we vote to release it. Now, let's talk about what this is about. FISA, obviously, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, okay? Now, this was passed, people forget this, but this was passed during the Nixon, after the Nixon administration, 1978, because Nixon had been spying using foreign intelligence warrants to spy on radical demonstrators within the country, right? It was all this kind of, in the 60s, all the riots, all the demonstrations, and Nixon had been using spying on our own people. And they said, no, well, you've got to go to a FISA court. It's a secret court, but you have got to show cause to spy on Americans. We don't want a government spying on us. This is supposed to be America, right? So the thing that everybody's talking about is, did the Obama Justice Department use this Oppo research called the Steele dossier, completely unverified information, as part of the way to get FISA warrants to spy on the Donald Trump campaign? There's one guy, Carter Page, I think his name is. There's one guy they're saying was a Russian spy, which just seems absurd, but that was the excuse they were giving to spy on. So just think about this, because there are Democrats now saying, you know, well, it may have been only one reason. If you're using the DNC and Hillary Clinton paid for the Steele dossier, it was Russian misinformation, it hasn't been verified, to use that to spy not just on me, on some American guy, but to spy on an actual political opponent, I mean, that is bad, you know? That is bad. That is a major, major scandal. And it is appalling, the lack of curiosity the press is showing. It's appalling. I mean, if this were obviously Republican corruption, they'd be all over it. But the fact that it is the great sacred Barack Obama who ran the government like a Chicago machine, and it's coming out now, and this is part of what's coming out. Again, I don't know what's in the memo. I'm not going to tell you that it actually shows that they did this. But if I were a reporter, I would be salivating. I mean, I don't care, Republican or Democrat, I would think, wow, this is the story of my young lifetime. This is going to be the big scandal that I cover in my life. I would be all over this. So here, first of all, Adam Schiff comes out, and I've called him Joe McCarthy before, but here is an actual video of Adam Schiff lying, okay? I mean, he comes out, this guy who looks like a turtle escaped from his shell, and he comes out after they pass this vote, and it's there are more Republicans than Democrats on the House Intel Committee, and they vote that we're going to release this memo, which is what they say it is a compilation of information they got that was otherwise classified. So it's essentially an end run around the classified information to release this information. And here he comes. The cut I want on this is cut number 2, right?
That motion was voted down by the majority. The majority expressed a concern that something in the minority memoranda or otherwise could compromise sources and methods. And for exactly that reason, we asked that both memoranda be vetted by the FBI and the Department of Justice. But that was voted down.
So what he's saying there is they voted to release the GOP memo, but voted not to release the Dem memo, a counter memo that Adam Schiff wrote. That's not true. Okay, that is simply not true. What they voted was, before releasing the GOP memo, they voted that everybody in the House should get to see it before they voted whether to release it to the public. So now they voted to do the same thing to the Democrat memo before releasing it, to make sure everybody in the House gets to read it before they release it to the public. So they voted to do the same, treat the Democratic memo the same way they treated the Republican memo. This in spite of the fact that the people who have seen the memo say that the Republican memo is about the FBI, the Democrat memo is about the Republican memo. So now they're coming out with this absolute panic to make sure. You're going to start to see some leaks, by the way, because as long as the Republicans were the only people who had seen this, you saw no leaks. But once the FBI gets a hold of it, they will start to leak it out. And what they'll do is they'll leak it out to make it seem like it's not as bad. But you know it's bad because Nancy Pelosi was on the Chris Cuomo show, and Cuomo had the temerity at one point, you almost never see anybody do this on CNN, to push back a little bit and say, why should we trust you? You know, why should we all know how political everybody is, so why should we trust you? And I had our guys take Pelosi and just put together all her answers that she made, just one answer after another. We have this montage of her. This is cut number 7 during this amazing thing where for once Chris Cuomo actually pushed back and said, you know, shouldn't the information go, almost as if he were a journalist and wanted information released to the public, which is what journalists are supposed to do. He pushed back a little and she's insane. I mean, so this is a montage, cut number 7.
What they're putting forth is a total misrepresentation. It is false. And they're putting it out there as if it is factual and then saying, we're going to show this to the American people, but we're not going to show the rebuttal to it by the Democrats. Now, this isn't not to be politicized. This is about fact. This is about security or not. It's about people in our country who work so hard to protect the American people in the intelligence community and to be frivolous with their identity or roads that can lead to them.
You're saying that you think it puts lives at stake if this memo comes out?
Well, I'm saying that intelligence that is necessary for other countries to share with us, why would they put it at the mercy of Dennis Nunes, who doesn't even read the memo, and say the American people should see it? This dark cloud hangs over the Capitol. It's called their tax cut. It's taken us $2 trillion additional into debt. That makes them afraid of incurring any further debt, right. So they don't want to spend money on the domestic agenda. And look what they're doing with family unification, making up a fake name, chain. They like the word chain. That sends tremors through people in our...
Well, you read something into everything in terms of what they're doing.
Of course I do. I see them every day.
I'm hysterical. I'm having hysterics. I'm hysterical. I can't stop when I get like this. I can't stop. I'm hysterical.
Just to summarize Pelosi's position, she says the memo is false, but it damages our national security. So if the memo is false, it doesn't damage anything because who knows, it's not real information, but it damages our security and it distracts from the fact that we now have lower taxes, which is a disaster. And meanwhile, they're putting immigrants in chains because they call it chain migration. That's her argument. Now compare this to Trey Gowdy, and this is before the vote to release the memo. Gowdy went on. Gowdy, who has backed the Robert Mueller investigation relentlessly, he has said, leave him, in his words, leave him the hell alone. Let him do his job. He has said this relentlessly. But when asked why they should release the memo on the Sunday show, this was his clearly reasonable answer.
This memo is nothing but the distilling, the reducing of thousands of pages of documents provided to us by the department and the Bureau. So there's nothing in this memo that the department is not already aware of. If you think your viewers want to know whether or not the dossier was used in court proceedings, whether or not it was vetted before it was used, whether or not it's ever been vetted, if you are interested in who paid for the dossier, if you're interested in Christopher Steele's relationship with Hillary Clinton and the Democrat National Committee, then yes, you'll want the memo to come out. If you're Adam Schiff, who is consistently wrong when it comes to issues of disclosure. He didn't want us to find out any of this information, Chris. He fought. In fact, GPS went to court. Fusion GPS went to court to keep us from finding out that the Democrats paid for the dossier. So if you're Adam Schiff, of course you don't want the information to come out. You didn't want us to find it in the first place.
So look, a really simple question. Who do you trust? The people who want information to come out to the public, or the people, including the press, who are trying so hard to keep it secret? For the answer, let's ask someone who knows.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Thank you, President Obama. Okay, so